You've been lied to your entire life. They told you masturbation was dirty, shameful, something you'd outgrow. They were wrong about everything. But here's what no one said. After 60, masturbation, done right or done wrong, could be the difference between vitality and decline, between feeling alive and feeling like you're already dying. My name is Dr. Marcus Thompson, urologist and professor at Johns Hopkins Medical School. I've spent 30 years treating men like you, and I've seen what happens when good men suffer from what they never knew. I've witnessed silent consequences destroying marriages, crushing confidence, and accelerating aging, not from illness, but from masturbation mistakes that no one ever warned you about. Because the truth is, most older men either masturbate the wrong way or stop altogether, and both choices are quietly destroying their health. Yes, done poorly, it causes erectile dysfunction, depression, prostate problems, and cardiovascular decline. But done right, it stimulates testosterone production, improves sleep quality, and maintains your entire vascular system. In just a moment, I'll share 7 masturbation secrets every man over 60 should have known decades ago. Secrets that could change everything. Stay with me. What you're about to hear might completely change how you approach the next 10 years of your life. Before we continue, make sure to hit subscribe and ring the notification bell. This channel delivers honest, science-based insights for men in your stage of life. Information most doctors are too uncomfortable to discuss. If this topic resonates with your situation, type the number 1 in the comments. If you're here for general health information, type 0. Your feedback helps me create content that actually serves you. Now let's get into it, starting with the first truth men never hear until it's already caused serious problems. This might shock you. David, a 63-year-old retired school principal, sat in my office last month looking defeated. This was a man who had commanded respect from students, parents, and faculty for decades. But behind closed doors, he was struggling with something he was too ashamed to tell even his wife of 35 years. He leaned forward and whispered, "Doc, I can't feel much anymore down there. It's like my body forgot how to respond. I thought maybe it was just age, but..." He paused, then continued, "I've been doing the same thing the same way for 40 years. Quick, mindless, just to get it over with." That confession, one I've heard from hundreds of men, revealed the first and most devastating mistake. What David didn't realize is that decades of rushed, mindless masturbation had literally rewired his nervous system for numbness. When you masturbate the same way repeatedly, fast, hard pressure, focused only on climax, you're training your body to require more and more stimulation for less and less sensation. This isn't psychological. This is neurological conditioning. Your nerve pathways adapt to whatever pattern you consistently repeat. After years of aggressive stimulation, normal touch feels like nothing. This numbness doesn't stay confined to masturbation. It affects your ability to feel pleasure with your partner, leading to performance anxiety and avoidance of intimacy altogether. Many men start believing they have erectile dysfunction when they actually have sensation dysfunction. The good news is your nervous system can relearn proper sensitivity, but it requires a complete technique overhaul. This means slower stimulation, lighter touch, and learning to feel subtle sensations again. Think of it as teaching your body to appreciate whispers instead of only responding to shouting. Harold, a 68-year-old retired firefighter, came to me with recurring prostate issues. Multiple doctor visits, several rounds of antibiotics, but the discomfort kept returning. During our consultation, I asked about his sexual activity. He shifted uncomfortably and said, "Well, Doc, at my age, I figured that chapter was closed. My wife passed 3 years ago, and I just stopped everything, thought it was the respectful thing to do." Harold had made what many men consider a noble decision, complete sexual abstinence. But what he didn't know is that his prostate needed regular stimulation to stay healthy. Your prostate is essentially a muscular gland that produces seminal fluid. Like any muscle, it needs regular activity to maintain healthy function. When sexual activity stops completely, no masturbation, no ejaculation for months or years, prostatic fluid builds up and stagnates. This stagnation creates what we call prostatic congestion. The accumulated fluid becomes a breeding ground for bacteria and inflammation. Research shows that men who ejaculate regularly have a 20% lower risk of prostate cancer compared to men who ejaculate less than 7 times per month. Prostatic congestion leads to chronic pelvic pain, frequent urination, difficulty starting urination, and that constant feeling of incomplete bladder, emptying. The hormonal disruption from sexual inactivity compounds the problem, affecting sleep quality, energy levels, and emotional stability. The solution is regular ejaculation, ideally 3 to 5 times per week for optimal prostate health. This doesn't require a partner, it requires understanding that sexual activity is a medical necessity, not a moral luxury. For men like Harold, I recommend approaching masturbation as prostate maintenance, similar to exercise or taking vitamins. Peter, a 65-year-old retired engineer, had been married for 40 years when his wife developed dementia. He found himself in an impossible emotional situation, still feeling sexual desire, but with no appropriate outlet for intimacy. He told me, "Doc, I feel guilty even thinking about taking care of myself. It feels like I'm betraying her or being selfish." But the urges don't just disappear. This shame was literally eating him alive from the inside. Chronic sexual shame triggers a stress response that floods your system with cortisol, the hormone that breaks down muscle, suppresses immune function, and accelerates aging. When you consistently feel guilty about natural sexual impulses, your body interprets this as ongoing threat. This chronic stress state affects every biological system. Your sleep becomes fragmented because your nervous system can't fully relax. Your cardiovascular system stays in low-level alert mode, increasing blood pressure and heart disease risk. Sexual shame doesn't stay contained to sexual thoughts. It spreads to your entire sense of self-worth. You start questioning whether you deserve pleasure, comfort, or happiness at your age. Many men stop pursuing social activities, hobbies, or personal care because the shame makes them feel unworthy of good things. Breaking the shame spiral requires understanding that sexual desire at any age is normal, healthy, and morally neutral. Your body's continued capacity for sexual response is a sign of vitality, not corruption. Sexual self-care becomes an act of self-respect rather than self-indulgence. Frank, a 64-year-old widower, came to me complaining of fatigue, depression, and feeling like half a man. Blood tests showed his testosterone levels had dropped significantly since his wife's death 2 years earlier. "Doc, I just don't have energy for anything anymore. I used to work in my garage, go fishing, visit friends. Now I can barely get motivated to shower some days." When I asked about sexual activity, he said, "I haven't done anything since she died. Didn't seem right." He had no idea that stopping sexual activity was accelerating his hormonal decline. Sexual activity, including masturbation, directly stimulates testosterone production through multiple pathways. Physical arousal triggers luteinizing hormone release, which signals your testes to produce testosterone. When sexual activity stops completely, this hormonal stimulation disappears. Research shows that men who maintain regular sexual activity have significantly higher testosterone levels than sexually inactive men of the same age. The use it or lose it principle applies directly to hormone production. Low testosterone affects far more than sexual function. You experience muscle loss, increased body fat, decreased bone density, and reduced cardiovascular health. Mentally, low testosterone contributes to depression, anxiety, brain fog, and memory problems. Sleep quality deteriorates because testosterone helps regulate sleep cycles. Poor sleep further reduces testosterone production, creating a downward spiral. The solution is understanding that sexual activity is hormone therapy. Regular masturbation, 2-3 times per week, provides the hormonal stimulation needed to maintain healthy testosterone levels naturally. This isn't about sexual gratification, it's about endocrine system maintenance. Gerald, a 67-year-old retired pilot, hadn't attempted an erection in over a year after his divorce. When he started dating again, he discovered he couldn't achieve the firmness he once took for granted. Doc, I figured everything would just work when I needed it to. I mean, it always did before. He looked confused and defeated. But when the moment came, nothing happened. It's like that part of me just shut down. Gerald had learned the hard way that erectile function isn't like riding a bicycle. It requires regular maintenance to stay functional. Erectile function depends on vascular health and smooth muscle tone in penile tissue. These systems require regular blood flow to maintain their responsiveness. When erections stop happening, whether from lack of sexual activity or avoidance, the blood vessels and smooth muscle begin to deteriorate. Think of it like any other muscle. Without regular exercise, it weakens. The penile arteries need regular dilation to maintain their elasticity. Medical research shows that men who go extended periods without erections experience measurable decreases in penile blood flow and arterial responsiveness. Erectile function decline creates performance anxiety that makes the problem worse. Fear of failure leads to sexual avoidance, which accelerates the physical deterioration. It becomes a self-perpetuating cycle of dysfunction. The psychological impact extends beyond sexual confidence. Many men interpret erectile problems as a sign of overall physical decline or loss of masculine identity. The solution is regular erectile exercise through masturbation or morning erections. Your penis needs frequent blood flow to maintain healthy function. I recommend erectile maintenance, deliberately creating erections 3 to 4 times per week. Think of it as cardiovascular exercise for your penis. William, a 62-year-old retired coach, came to me with an unusual complaint. He could only achieve erection while watching pornography, but couldn't maintain arousal with his wife of 30 years. Doc, I don't understand what's happening. I can perform when I'm alone with my computer, but with my wife, nothing. She's attractive. I love her, but my body just doesn't respond to real intimacy anymore. William had unknowingly conditioned his brain to only respond to the artificial superstimulation of pornography, making real intimacy neurologically insufficient. Pornography creates unnaturally high levels of dopamine stimulation, much higher than what real sexual encounters produce. Your brain adapts to these extreme dopamine spikes by reducing sensitivity to normal stimulation. This is the same neurological pattern seen in drug addiction. Over time, your brain requires increasingly extreme content to produce the same arousal response. Meanwhile, real intimacy, with its subtle emotional connection and gentle physical sensations, becomes neurologically underwhelming. Brain imaging studies show that heavy pornography use creates measurable changes in the reward circuitry, similar to other addictive substances. Pornography-induced erectile dysfunction destroys real relationships while creating false confidence in solo performance. Men become sexually functional alone, but dysfunctional with partners, creating confusion and relationship conflict. The content escalation often leads to seeking increasingly extreme scenarios, moving further away from realistic intimacy. This creates a double life: functional sexual performance alone, but inability to connect intimately with real partners. Recovery requires complete elimination of pornography to allow brain chemistry to normalize. This typically takes 60-90 days of abstinence for neural pathways to reset. During recovery, focus on sensory masturbation without visual stimulation, using only physical sensation and imagination. Thomas, a 69-year-old widower, hadn't spoken to another person in 3 days when he finally called my office. His adult children lived across the country. He'd stopped attending social functions, and he'd convinced himself he was past the age for intimacy or companionship. "Doc, I don't feel like myself anymore. I don't feel like anything anymore. I just exist day to day, waiting for, I don't know what I'm waiting for." Social and sexual isolation triggers a biological stress response that accelerates aging at the cellular level. Humans are biologically designed for connection, both social and physical. When both disappear, your body interprets this as an existential threat. Isolation increases cortisol production, suppresses immune function, and accelerates cognitive decline. Studies show that social isolation has health impacts equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes daily. Sexual isolation compounds this by eliminating the hormonal and cardiovascular benefits of sexual activity. Complete isolation creates a downward spiral that becomes increasingly difficult to escape. Without social stimulation, cognitive function declines faster. Without sexual activity, physical health deteriorates more rapidly. Many isolated men develop what appears to be depression or dementia, when the real issue is biological deregulation from lack of human connection. They lose motivation for self-care, nutrition, and activity, not because they're mentally ill, but because their bodies are shutting down from lack of stimulation. Recovery requires gradual re-engagement with both social and sexual connection. Start with social activities, community centers, religious organizations, hobby groups. The goal is regular human interaction to restore social confidence. Simultaneously, maintain sexual connection through masturbation as a way of staying connected to your body and sexuality. This preserves the biological systems needed for potential future intimacy while supporting current physical and mental health. Identity restoration opening. Gentlemen, I want to speak to you not as a doctor to patients, but as one man to another. You've lived full lives, built careers, raised families, faced challenges that would break younger generations. The struggles we've discussed today don't diminish any of that. They don't make you less of a man. What they make you is human. A human being who deserves to feel alive, connected, and vital for as long as you're drawing breath. The shame, the isolation, the physical decline, none of this is inevitable. None of it is a sentence you have to accept. Your body is still capable of response, pleasure, and connection. Your heart is still capable of intimacy and joy. The man you've always been is still there. He just needs the right information and approach to resurface. Mistake summary with dignity restoration. Today, we've uncovered 7 critical mistakes that have been silently undermining your health and vitality. Mindless technique that creates numbness, complete avoidance that congests your prostate, shame that floods your system with stress hormones, ignoring the testosterone connection, neglecting erectile maintenance, brain rewiring from pornography, and the ultimate danger, complete isolation. Each of these mistakes represents misinformation or lack of information that led you to make choices that seemed reasonable but were actually harmful. You weren't failing. You were working with incomplete or incorrect guidance. The truth is that sexual health isn't a luxury for older men. It's a medical necessity. Regular sexual activity, whether with a partner or solo, maintains hormone levels, supports cardiovascular health, prevents prostate problems, and keeps you connected to your own vitality. You have the power to correct every single one of these mistakes starting today. Your body is waiting for you to give it what it needs. Body connection restoration. Your body hasn't given up on you. It's been waiting for you to give it proper support. Every nerve ending, every blood vessel, every hormone-producing cell is still there, still capable of response when given the right stimulation and care. This isn't about recapturing your youth. It's about claiming your present. You're still here, still breathing, still capable of feeling pleasure and connection. That's not an accident. That's biology telling you that you're meant to stay engaged with life, with your body, and with others. The choice is yours. Retreat into isolation and decline, or engage with your body and life with the wisdom that only comes from decades of living. Practical implementation. Identity affirmation. Start where you are with what you have. Choose one mistake from today's discussion and commit to addressing it this week. Whether it's adjusting your technique, addressing shame, or simply maintaining regular sexual activity for your health, take one step. You're not too old, it's not too late, and you're not broken. You're a man who deserves to feel fully alive, fully himself, and fully connected to the magnificent machine that is your body. Your health, your vitality, and your connection to life itself are worth fighting for. Now go reclaim what's yours.